Ladies and gentlemen, we have the white paper presentation on Fit and Future Ready. I would like to now invite Mr. Harshvardhan Sharma, Head Auto Retail Practice, Nomura Research Institute, requesting him to kindly join us on stage. And I'd like to request him to kindly address the gathering.
Namaskar and a very warm good morning to all of you. Shri Om Birla ji, Honorable Lok Sabha Speaker, Shri Narayan ji Rane, Honorable Minister of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises of India, Government of India, Shri Shailesh Chandra ji, Vice President SIAM, Shri Manish Raj Singhania ji, President FADA, Shri Saharsh Damani, CEO FADA, esteemed FADA members, and participants from the automotive industry. I'm Harshvardhan Sharma, Head of Automotive Retail at Nomura Research Institute and Consulting. We are a global management consulting firm with a very deep focus on the automotive sector. At the outset, let me express my gratitude towards FADA on organization of this 12th Auto Retail Summit 2023 with who's who of the automotive industry fraternity in the attendance today. NRI, in association with FADA, has prepared a white paper on the topic of gearing for fit and future ready dealerships. And while today I'm going to be summarizing some of the key findings of our white paper, you are more than welcome to go through the detail. There is a detailed presentation, postulates of it I'm covering today, but the detail is in your dockets. All right, so talking very briefly about the gist of the findings. Glad to report that brick and mortar still continues to remain relevant and unsubstituted. In fact, we ran a survey with the dealers and also had in-depth interviews. Thank you for the dealer fraternity for presenting, for sharing your findings with us on that. So about 87% of the dealers do believe that viewing the product physically is the key reason for visiting the dealerships by customers. Dealers also understand that, therefore, customer experience is the key differentiator for them to succeed. Overall, there is a positive sentiment and optimistic future outlook amongst the dealer fraternity. And there is a belief that Indian market is promising enough. There are also concerns that there are still large milestones which need to be achieved to attain parity with the global developed markets. The underpinnings of underserved market, growing younger population, demand for personal transportation, increase in the average selling price, and urbanization are some key growth trends which seem to be driving our growth engine. Dealers also report that there is a shift in the preferences of customers towards being connected and being digitally native, especially with the inflow of Gen Z and millennials in the purchase cycles. And this creates a need for new sales methodologies and preferring online channels. There is also a need for online pre-purchase research strengthening as it improves traceability and purchase journey autonomy, and it leads to increase in the control which customers feel that they can execute on the sales cycle. Dealers also are in agreement, and they believe that strengthening is required over there. There is also a transitioning required towards true digital. While there have been efforts made towards digitization, but in order to achieve true digital experience, there is a need for more to be done at the dealership and at OEM level, both. There are also frugal retail formats and parity with non-auto retail, both offline and online, which customers reported. Meaning when they go to Amazon, when they go to other offline channels and online channels, they are asking for the same experience at their dealership experience as well. So that's something which both OEMs and dealers need to work in tandem with. Finally, everyone believes that there is a need to track a drill down KPI level. Today, we have always spoken about conversion ratios, test drive ratios, retail, etc. But some of the latent KPIs like, let's say, sales per square feet, average revenue per customer, and customer lifetime value also are increasingly becoming relevant and will need to be examined further. So like I mentioned, due to rising rentals in metros as well as tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 cities all along, we will continue to see transition towards smaller and more efficient stores or dealerships. And customers, interestingly, including luxury customers, are now open to viewing products digitally as well. So there is an increased acceptance for going digital. Also, one interesting trend which came along was the need for digital content creation and better digital marketing management. This is not something new, but what's new is that customers and dealers both realize that there is local content to be created, whether it's reels, whether it's posts, mentions, local influencer collaboration, as well as efficient marketing technology deployment at the dealerships, so that there is better return on marketing investments at the dealership side as well. Many dealers have shared that multi-brand outlets is something that would help them in improving their cost efficiencies and will lead to better asset utilization. One more interesting area is the succession planning, where dealers have mentioned that they are cognizant for the need of long-term succession planning, and they are open to the idea of getting help on this. They are welcoming to the next generation, but want them to emphasize on fixing the basics first before taking over the management reins. Interestingly, subscription and leasing have also come up as areas which need further intervention. In fact, 40% of the dealers have mentioned that they are not aware of subscription and leasing, and would like more inputs on this from OEMs. And finally, on the cost lever side, financial prudence, operational optimization remain key cost management tenets. Dealers also perceive interest payments, power and fuel, that was an outlier, rentals, as well as HR cost, particularly amongst the luxury side, to be the key cost drivers. Let me also briefly cover the findings of the survey. Some of this I already covered, so I'll skip. In fact, the key point here being that initial inquiry stage has 97% interest from all the dealers, respondents. They believe that it is where maximum efforts should be focused on. Dealership size reduction is on the 50% of dealer respondents' agenda. And 53% mentioned multi-brand outlets to be of interest to them. Oh, sure. Just one moment, sorry. Could we go back one, please? One ahead. Yes, this one. All right, so 43% of the dealers mentioned that they lack succession planning and would need guidance. Next, please. All right, talking about the details of the survey. So like I mentioned, most customers visit the dealership for viewing the product physically, and digital penetration is highest for initial inquiry stage. That's what dealers believe as well. Next, please. Reducing dealership size, increasing receptiveness of MBOs, and positive outlook towards an agent sales model or direct sales model are also key trends which emerged from the conversations with the dealer fraternity. Next, please. So alternate revenue streams like subscription and leasing, succession planning, and another interesting aspect is the policy support awareness, especially in the tier 2, tier 3 and rural areas. Dealers did mention that because of the policy awareness, there are issues sometimes which they face, and they actively seek cooperation and guidance on how to navigate through multiple policies and regulatory compliances. Next, please. So no surprises on the cost side, except the power and fuel is one area which surfaces overcompensation for teams. So that was interesting to note. Next, please. Talking very briefly about India sector trends. So like I covered in the initial slides, the underpinnings for growth for India are still pretty much intact. We have still a very underserved market. About 24 vehicles per 1,000 people is where we are at, and of course there's a lot of headroom there. And all the driving factors, whether it's the increasing younger population, advanced vehicle features, and therefore increased average selling price, increased finance penetration, demand for personal mobility, and rural demand remain strong drivers for dealerships. Next, please. On the consumer side, interestingly, consumers expressed an increased willingness to pay. It's also been evident because the entry-level variants uptake has been a little lower than the top variant. So that's also something which the consumers mentioned. They also mentioned that they are open to the idea of trying short-term lease subscription kind of innovative models. Next, please. Just touching upon the regulatory aspect again. So whether it's the EV policy, scrappage policy, data and privacy laws at the dealership, or whether it's the used car side, dealers did mention that that in fact there are 27, 28 licenses. One of the conversations we had with the dealers, they mentioned that there is significant regulatory guidance which is required also because of frequent changes, and they would appreciate guidance from either FADA or from OEMs on this matter. Next, please. All right, broadly covering what's happening globally, so it's not very different. However, some of these trends have been implemented in bits and pieces in India as well, whether it's omni-channel, whether it's innovative customer engagement formats, financing solutions, shrinking dealership sizes, or redefining KPIs. All of them have been happening globally and are also now being seen in India. Next, please. So on the multiple models of retail, many OEMs have tried the agent model. There is also a hybrid agency model. There is increasing AR/VR experience penetration in the evolved markets, and we have also seen new store formats, pop-ups, AR/VRs happening in Europe and Africa as well. Next, please. Right. So here, this is also quite important. Like I was saying, with Gen Zs, millennials coming in, they do not base the expectation of their They do not base the expectation of their customer purchase on what has been happening in the auto sector, but their expectation is what's happening in the day of their life. Meaning, if their experiences in Amazon, at IKEA, or at Decathlon, or any of these brands, these experiences should also be carried forward in the auto purchase journey for them. So finally, moving on to the recommendations. If we could jump to slide 24, please. Right. So, and therefore, what should the dealerships be doing in future? This is the summary of what we've been hearing from the dealers and from our own research. Is online sales needs more deliberation. There is an increasing need for investing in training and development of team members. Dealership sizes need consolidation. There needs to be an open dialogue between OEMs, dealers, and amongst dealers also to not overinvest and therefore track sales per square feet very closely. Digital marketing and technology needs hand-holding at dealership side as well. So whether it's investing on digital marketing resources at dealership, getting them trained properly, and also tracking digital metrics properly, those are some initiatives which should continue to happen. On the cost side, whether it's using retail shared spaces, at least the back office spaces can be shared, usage of gig economy workers, retail automation on back-end operations, some of these can be initiatives which can be tracked. Moving on, just to summarize, on the multi-brand outlets, on the succession planning also, not very different from what we spoke earlier. So overall, there is a sentiment that there is hope. However, as we have not still achieved the pre-pandemic levels, dealers want to work with OEMs and work with the fraternity to improve their yields. With that, let me summarize my presentation. Thank you so much for patiently listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshvardhan Sharma for your very insightful white paper presentation on Fit and Future Ready. I'd like to at this stage call upon Mr. Dilip Patil, Governing Council Member, and Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, Chairperson, FADA Jammu, to please come on stage and felicitate Mr. Harshvardhan Sharma. Thank you.